Hello and welcome to EcoAudit 2020 Democrats Edition. In this mini-series, we'll be looking at the environmental record of the top 5 highest polling Democrats in May of 2019. Today's episode will investigate Bernie Sanders. Let's begin. First off, let's go and check out his score with the League of Conservation Voters. This is the group that independently assesses the environmental record of people in Congress. Bernie Sanders has received a score of 92% from them, and his failure to vote in most bills in 2016 severely dropped his score. However, we'll get to that in a bit. For now, let's take a look at this graph. It details his scores every year for his entire time in Congress, which as of now is 28 years. We can see that he's actually been pretty consistent over this time, except for that 6%. Okay, but let's talk about that. The short answer as to why his 2016 score is so low is that he missed a ton of votes due to campaigning for the Democratic nomination for president. Now, alert, I'm about to give my opinion here. I am a huge fan of Bernie. In 2016, I remember Googling the Democratic delegates on a nearly daily basis with the hope that somehow Bernie would pull through. I would be extremely proud and optimistic about America if he were elected today. All that considered, I can still criticize him. That's something I want you to take away as well. If you're a Bernie fan, if you like someone, you can still criticize them. And so I cut Bernie no slack for missing these votes. Sure, he was campaigning, but I'm sure there's another way he could have voted. In many of these bills, not voting had the same impact as voting no. 2016 was a critical time in the environmental movement, and in terms of legislation, I think Bernie failed here. I'm quite upset at him for this because look at some of the stuff he missed. He missed voting on a bill to prevent states from requiring the labeling of genetically modified organisms. If that bill had passed, then it would have had serious consequences for agriculture. Look at this bill he missed. It was a bill that almost got passed, which would destroy the Antiquities Act and severely cripple our ability to protect public lands. Finally, let's look at this one, an increased funding for breakthroughs in new energy technologies. The bill ended up not becoming law because it failed in the House, but Bernie didn't help the bill at all. All of this makes me feel like he's going to do the same thing in 2020 and ignore critical pro-environment bills. In my eyes, he messed up here. However, he does have an excellent record elsewhere. Let's knock off some key points. What is his climate plan? He supports the Green New Deal and goes beyond it. On his website, it says that we must invest in infrastructure, reduce carbon pollution by building better public transit, ban fracking, and end exports of fossil fuels. Sounds like a great plan. I'm on board. Here's him talking about climate change.
When you're dealing with the future of the planet and making sure that our kids and our grandchildren have a healthy and habitable world in which to live, I don't know how you go too far. I mean, this is an existential threat, not just to the United States, but to the entire planet. We have a moral obligation to combat climate change, to bring the entire world together. This is not an American issue, this is a global issue, to bring the world together, to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energies. And to me, we don't have a choice.
The next question is if he supports the Green New Deal. He obviously does, and he has been a huge supporter of it. Here's him talking about it.
I am proud to announce today that I am an original co-sponsor of the Green New Deal proposal. This is a very big deal. This bill is not written, you should know, as specific detailed legislation. Rather, it is an excellent, in my view, broad outline pointing the way forward to address the existential crisis of planetary climate change.
And lastly, has he signed the No Fossil Fuel Pledge? Of course he has. He's Bernie. So Bernie sounds like a great guy for the environment, but let's be honest, we all knew that. However, what can his past tell us about his views? Bernie's been in politics since 1971. That means we have potentially 48 years to recap. Instead of doing that, let's split his past into 3 parts. His time as Mayor of Burlington from 1981 to 1999, his time in House of Representatives from 1991 to 2007, and his incumbent time in the Senate. Let's go chronologically and start with his time as mayor. The problem with this is that I'm trying to research a specific policy position of a mayor of a small city in a small state 30 to 40 years ago. I couldn't find much. Except this picture from The Guardian, which could be of him on a cleanup. I also found some stuff about a Lakefront, which was controversial during his administration. Here's a quote from the New York Times explaining it. Many on the left were critical of Mr. Sanders' stance during the years-long convoluted battle over development of the city's spectacular waterfront along Lake Champlain. Mr. Sanders wanted to open up the lakefront, long marred by a decrepit rail yard for public use. Eventually, that is what happened. But for a time, he backed a private proposal to build a complex of high-end condos, hotel, and commercial space that critics said would block views of the lake and limit public access. More deal maker than ideologue, Mr. Sanders later worked for a compromise that scaled back the proposal and added public amenities like green space. He said the compromise, supported by most of the aldermen, was the best he could get, and that the development would expand the city's tax base, bringing millions of dollars into city coffers. He then championed a $6 million bond issue to pay for the infrastructure and public amenities. But environmentalists and others accused Mr. Sanders of selling out to business interests. The dispute led to a highly contentious campaign over the bond issue. Eventually, Bernie lost this fight, and then he began fighting to have the area open for public use. Do some more research on his time as mayor of Burlington. Maybe there's something I missed. On to his time in the House of Representatives, which is far more documented. During this time, his LCV score remained between 85% and 100%, so he did an excellent job there. Some of the bills he voted on include a bill lowering coal subsidies, a bill closing national parks, which Bernie voted against, and the infamous Yucca Mountain bill, which Bernie voted against and subsequently did not pass. In general, when Bernie was in the House of Representatives, his record was pro-environment. Now let's move on to the Senate. He's been in the Senate for 11 years now, since 2007. In that time, his LCV score has remained between 80% and 100%, not counting 2016. The majority of scores during this time were 100%, which is excellent. Similarly to how we looked at some key House votes, let's look at some key Senate votes. In 2007, he voted for an amendment to study biofuels more closely. In 2009, he voted for an amendment to continue borrowing funds for drilling. In 2013, he voted yes on the historic Clean Energy Tax Credits bill. All these scores and more can be found at lcv.org. So that's Bernie Sanders. He has a pretty great and relatively consistent record in Congress and has fought for bills such as the Green New Deal. He signed the No Fossil Fuel Pledge and has some policy ideas of his own that go beyond the Green New Deal. What do you think? Is he a good candidate for the environment? Let us know in the comments down below. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook now at We Are Ecocentric, where we post multiple times a day about the environment. Well, that's all for me. That's our Save the World. See you next week. Alright, it seems that the Democratic base is split into kind of three camps. There's the Biden camp, obviously. There's the Bernie camp, and then there's the we don't like either of them camp. And the Biden and Bernie camp are both pretty active. The neither camp is mainly led by Buttigieg and Warren. Then also Kamala and Beto are taking the lead. And then you have everyone else who doesn't really have much of a chance at this point. It doesn't seem like. Everyone else is polling below like 2% or something, so yeah. If we had to predict it right now, the polls say that Biden is going to win, but I think that these upcoming debates are really going to change that because Warren has been soaring in the polls, Bernie's been flatlining, everyone else has been flatlining, Biden's been decreasing, and so like today, if election happened, according to the polls, Biden would win. However, if we go with trends, it looks like Warren's going to take the nomination. Like that's interesting to say, but continuing the trends of the polls, that's how it's going to be. And I don't know how it's going to end up. I think that it'll be Biden with the nomination, just because that seems to be the DNC favorite. I think Biden will win just because he's more popular than Trump. But yeah, in a year, we'll have to come back and see how things ended up.